Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of the A.K.47 Baseball Podcast. I'm Austin Speaker.
And I'm Kenny Stable.
And we got a lot to cover in the last week. So, we were both wrong. We both thought no way Corey Kluber would get hit twice in a row. Well, I saw the cartoon picture of like the 1960s Spider-Man where they're pointing at each other.
Yeah.
And it was when playoff Clayton Kershaw meets playoff Corey Kluber. And it's just like, hey, I'm you and you're me. We're both really good in the regular season, Cy Young candidates, and then we're both really bad in October. Kershaw, not so much anymore. He redeemed himself last year, but Kluber has lost his last 3 playoff appearances.
I think that sounds about right, yeah.
And Kershaw, he had a rough stretch too a couple years ago.
Well, Dave Roberts took Kershaw out after like 4 or 5 innings in his last start. He went straight to the bullpen, I think like an out into the 5th inning. If my memory serves me correctly. So
okay.
He doesn't have a long leash on Kershaw. He knows playoff Kershaw is not the same.
But when you got bullpens as deep as you do in the postseason, it's easy to quickly jump to it. I was just, me and Kenny both talk about the Yankees a lot, and we were both shocked, for those of you listening, we were both shocked that Kluber got hit like he did by the Yankees. The Yankees got a high-flying offense. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah, I'm not complaining, but I can't say a lot of people are,
right.
I mean, they're shocked, but it's the postseason. Anything can happen. Right?
Anything can happen, including holding the Astros, the highest run total team in baseball during the regular season, averaging a little bit over 5.5 runs per game, being held to 2 runs in a win, 2 runs in a win for the Astros, then only 1 run in an 8-1 loss, and then, what was it, 4 runs. Okay, so they put up 4 runs.
So
in a loss.
It's not a ton.
But it's just a couple of hits, and it could be a 3-1, or if not a sweep, for the Yankees right now.
Yeah. No, anytime you have the variation of postseason series together with 2 random teams, anything can happen. That's why they say anything can happen in the playoffs.
Right.
Yankees, Astros, Padres, Astros. The Padres might steal 2 games in a 7-game series. You never know.
We're going to talk about the Tanaka and Keuchel game later on in the show. But let's just go down. Let's break down each team in the postseason because something is on my mind that I have to get it out there. And now I know a lot of people talk about Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez, but we're gonna go over the 4 CS teams right now and talk about like why they're here in the postseason. And for the Yankees, it's Didi Gregorius.
Oh, yes.
Not a doubt in my mind.
No.
Gary Sanchez has a couple home runs. Aaron Judge has a couple home runs. Didi has the biggest home runs, 2 off of Kluber. In Game 5, in the elimination game.
And the wild card game.
And the wild card game when they were down 3-0 right away in the first inning, and then Didi ties it up at 3-3 in the bottom of the first.
And we all know how much Irvin Santana enjoys pitching at Yankee Stadium.
He calls it a joke.
Yeah.
Which, it's short, but you still got to pitch. You still got to get your ground balls.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about Didi. To do what he's doing in Yankee Stadium, in New York City, in that kind of media, playing for the Yankees. Oh, and by the way, you got to fill in for Derek Jeter, one of the greatest Yankees of all time.
Yes, and coming in 2014, he struggled mightily in April and through May.
2015,
I'm sorry. Struggled mightily in April and through May.
We always thought he was a slick fielder and a weak hitter, and he did have like a few errors, but once he got the errors out of the way, I remember there was a little bit where Didi, he would kick it around, wouldn't get the throws right, but once his fielding came around, it seemed his bat just came around right with it. Because we're like, oh man, Didi's still a mediocre to slightly average hitter, but he could play defense. He'll be a great 9-inning shortstop, and now he's our 3-hitter.
Sometimes 4 as well.
Sometimes 4.
But I remember, like I said, he coming over, he made 4 errors in a series at Comerica Park, and people were calling for his head, so he burned at the stake, and all these things, The limelight really got to him, I think, of being a Yankee at first. Then he embraced the culture, he embraced the clubhouse, the guys around him, and he's changed for the better. He's improved. From 2014 to 2017, now, he's probably the most improved player in baseball.
One of the, if not the most.
Top 5 easily.
So now we're going to go on to the Astros. We could talk about Didi all day. Yeah. I really could. Actually, before we go on to the Astros, you had a nomination for team MVP during the regular season and could still very well be team MVP during the postseason. Chad Green. You love Chad Green.
I do like Chad Green. Just his ability to come in the middle of a game, give you 2 or 3 strong innings. He was a starter. He's a starter by trade, so he really could go 60 pitches if you really wanted him to.
Right.
He's stretched out. I don't know if he's as much now as he was in May, But I would be comfortable with him going like David Robertson, 45 to 60 pitches, 2 2/3.
See, now during the regular season and during the latter part of the season, he was getting more and more, I want to say, more intense outings, just in terms of situations like close games, that kind of thing. But for a while, I was like, Chad Green's good. He's looking really good. But, it's middle of the game, 5th, 6th, 7th inning, whatever. And, it's kind of like this game doesn't really mean a whole lot. But now he's coming in the 7th inning, in the 8th inning, in postseason baseball, in close games. And he is shutting the door.
If he really wanted to, I think he could close for a select number of MLB teams. I really think he could. He's got the stuff. He's got the makeup. He's got the personality on the mound. Nothing phases him. I mean, he's got a closer in the making, if you ask me. 98 with the sharp slider, can command all his pitches. That's closer stuff.
He is good.
He is.
It's just weird. It's weird to think about because 2 years ago, we're like, Chad Green. All right, whatever. Got him from Justin Wilson. Okay, like, cool. I guess we'll hang on to him and see how he does. I did not think this was going to happen. To be putting him out there alongside Betances and Robertson and Chapman. Ahead of, he's going in before Warren. He's going in before Canely. Sometimes he's even going in, definitely going in before Betances now, and sometimes he's in there before Robertson.
Well, I was going to say Warren and Betances are pretty much mop-up guys right now in the postseason. Yeah. Garcia and Montgomery are for injuries or blowout games, and then the rest are just throwing the kitchen sink at you. Yeah. Green, Canely, Robertson, Chapman. That's
they
pretty
all
much
throw
it.
98 plus. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's not fun to be in the box against 90, let alone 98.
No. And that's why the Yankees, even though they were a wild card team, were picked by a lot of experts and analysts saying that whether they can win the World Series or not, they don't know, but they can make it to the World Series solely because of what they can throw out there game after game from innings 6 through 9.
Well, anything can happen. Like I mention this all the time. I mean, the Royals won the World Series in 2015.
And they had Kelvin Herrera and Wade Davis and Greg Holland and Finnegan.
Brandon Finnegan. He was a rookie that year, I believe.
That's right.
And they were a wild card team.
Yep.
So that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care where you come in. You just perform.
I'm just talking about the bullpen, though.
Oh, no, I know.
And you look at those bullpen pieces, they're all similar. So now we're going to move on to the Astros, and they're here. It's obvious. Jose Altuve hitting 3 home runs against the Red Sox, which it's funny because a lot of people talk about his numbers. Look at what Jose Altuve is coming and doing in this postseason. If you take away that one game against the Red Sox when he had 3 home runs and 4 runs scored and 4 or 5 RBIs, his numbers are not good. His numbers are not good. He's got the average and he's getting on base, but in terms of production, it's really just that one game. I'm not taking anything away from Jose Altuve. He's the Astros MVP over the course of the whole year.
Of course, yeah.
But it really was just that one game.
Well, that happens in the postseason a lot. Sometimes it gets to you. You go into a little slump. You're Aaron Judge, and you strike out in 75% of your at-bats, and then you hit 2 home runs.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it happens.
Who knows in the postseason?
It happens. But, yeah, Altuve being in that lineup, in the top third of that order, you got to ask more if you're the Astros from Springer out of the leadoff spot. You got to ask more, at least a little more from Reddick. He's a great defender, but you got to ask a little more from him out of the 2 spot. It's really Altuve and Correa who are both combining to hit almost 400, and the rest of the team going into yesterday's game was hitting collectively under 100.
Well, it's Springer, Reddick, Altuve, right? That's
the top 3. Correa 4, and then their 5 hitter is
Gurriel, I believe.
Usually Yuli Gurriel, sometimes Marwin. Those two flip.
I would flip Altuve and Springer for the postseason.
I don't know why Altuve doesn't lead off.
At least in the postseason.
I don't know
the guy who hits as well as he does, you get on base to start the inning.
Springer has more power numbers, so get him with runners on base, get him up with runners on base, get Altuve's legs moving with guys like Reddick and Springer and Correa hitting behind him, and Altuve's a high on base percentage guy, high batting average guy. He hit 365 in the regular season. No, his on base was over 450.
He's an animal, and may I remind people that he had to beg to try out for the Astros. He went to a tryout camp.
He was an undrafted sign out of Venezuela.
And he attended an open tryout camp, and he showed up, and he played, and they said, all right, see ya. Sorry, you didn't make the team. And he said, no, I'm coming back tomorrow. And they go, okay. So he comes back, sits. They feel bad for him because he's sitting in the dugout for like an hour and a half. They throw him in a game. He goes 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. I know he hit well when he was put into the game. I don't know if it was 2 doubles exactly, but he stepped
right in and mashed.
Yeah. And they realized they had something special.
All 5'6" and a half of him.
If that. He's probably like 3 feet at highest.
It's not as bad. Quick plug. It's not as bad as Ken Rosenthal trying to interview Aaron Judge.
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was really funny.
Ken Rosenthal's
he's not a tall man.
Yeah,
he himself is only like 5'6", 5'7".
You know the boom
But
mic.
it was just really funny.
You know the boom mic from movies where like they throw it over the scene. That's what they need for Aaron Judge.
Basically,
pretty much.
All right. So now we go over to the National League, and I want to give. We do a lot of East Coast bias over here, being from New York and Eastern times for games and stuff like that. Don't get a whole lot of West Coast games, but if you've been watching the Dodgers lately, you are impressed with what Justin Turner is doing, and he's my Dodgers MVP. I'm talking strictly postseason. I'm talking strictly postseason, just postseason, not regular season, because he also hit, by the way, 350 in the regular season or something like that, something ridiculous.
No, he did have a very high average. He had a great year.
His power numbers. He was always, to me, like 275 with 25 home runs. This year it was the opposite. It was like 345, 350, forget the exact number, but right around there with 10, 11 home runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just reversed. But then he comes in for the Dodgers. He's their 3-hitter. He's hitting walk-off home runs against the Cubs, which I feel bad for Chicago. They're down 3-0, but we Yankee fans know that being down 3-0 doesn't mean anything.
And let me just say, I feel so bad for Hector Rondon of the Cubs. He has a propensity for giving up very, very big home runs in big spots.
I don't feel bad when he's always done that. And when it first happened to him a couple times, like, Hector Rondon gave up another home run. I feel bad for him. Now I'm just like, dude, it's weird if he doesn't give up a home run now. I don't know why he's still a reliever.
I think there's a reason why he doesn't close anymore in Chicago.
You think?
For those reasons.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, I believe was he in when Brett Gardner hit a walk-off home run earlier on in the... Not a walk-off, but a go-ahead home run in Wrigley earlier on in the year.
Yep, top of the 9th inning.
That's right.
I remember that.
I don't feel bad for Hector Rondon, but I kind of do. The former pitcher in me feels bad, but it's just like, dude, enough's enough. You got to stop giving up go-ahead home runs in crucial situations.
And the thing with going back to Justin Turner is in the interview afterwards, he's a very, very well-spoken, mild-mannered guy. You'd expect him to be like screaming into the microphone, just spitting at everyone, being all obnoxious, because a lot of people will do that after a walk-off home run. But he was, he took his time, asked questions to the interviewer, like, excuse me, like, what'd you say? He's really professional of him, I thought. He could have easily just let the moment get to him, and obviously he celebrated it, but the way he handled the interviewing was... You
can always tell a lot by a player by how well they handle the media in times of greatness and times of, despair, not doing so hot. So, for me, it's Justin Turner. You could easily give it to Kenley Jansen. You could easily give it to Bellinger, who had a heck of a series against the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your pick for the Dodgers MVP right now? Postseason only.
No, I agree. I'd go with Turner. You have to go with Justin Turner. He's just the cog in the lineup.
He's obviously much bigger, but like what Altuve is to the Astros right now, that's what Turner's doing for the Dodgers.
Oh, easily. In terms of big hits? Oh, yeah. For sure. And the thing with Turner is he was a former Mets prospect. Former Met.
When the Buffalo Bisons were in the Mets system, my hometown of Buffalo, I remember going to watch Justin Turner thinking like, he's not a bad second at the time. Not a bad second baseman.
No,
at the time, because it's what he was. He was like a kind of a stout middle infielder who played second base, and then he got to the majors, and then everyone was like, let's put him at third. Oh my God, he has an arm.
Wow,
might as well put him there.
But no, he just another prospect from the Mets organization that got away. We won't get to that, but that's just the long list of prospects. Carlos Gomez comes to mind.
Oh God, that's another one right there. How many prospects in the past 10 years have the Mets let go?
And the Mets have the rotating door in center field, which has been filled by many people, including Juan Lagares,
Michael Conforto, Granderson, Cespedes.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
and Gomez could have been, but they wanted Yohan Santana. So
well, they got Yohan. Only no hitter in Mets history.
You give him that, but 140...
And the Mets had Nolan Ryan, they had Tom Seaver, Doc Gooden.
And 147 pitches later, 153. It was up there.
It was one of those Edwin Jackson type no-hitters where you throw 150
and
plus.
He had shoulder issues after that. I don't think it was because of that one game.
He always had shoulder issues.
Yeah. I don't think it was that one game, but it did play a factor.
We digress. The last team we got to cover is the Cubs. Now, they're in a tough spot, down 3-0 in the NLCS to the Dodgers. And if you had to pick an MVP for the Cubs, I just by looking at what happened in the Washington series. Anthony Rizzo is the rock of that team.
He is, but don't discount Addison Russell in the postseason. He doesn't hit much in the regular season. I don't think he's that great of a hitter to begin with. I think he's a mostly all-glove shortstop. But in the postseason, he'll come up with some big hits for that team.
And he did last year, and he's doing so this year.
And he did so this year.
Yeah. So Rizzo also had a crucial double to give him a win in Wrigley. He's just a great first baseman and the real anchor of that lineup right there in the middle. And Addison Russell is up 2 spots behind Rizzo. So when the Cubs are flexing their muscles, it's not unbearable to think they can't win 4 games in a row. Because when Bryant's hitting doubles left and right, and when Rizzo's getting up, and Schwarber hit a leadoff home run last night.
Baez isn't hitting. Their pitching's been suspect. There's too many flaws with this team right now. I don't think they've caught fire at the right time. Not necessarily like caught fire, but down 3-0 to the Dodgers, the postseason hangover a little bit. I just don't see it.
You saw it during the regular season too.
You did.
When they had a 500 record going into July.
It's real. Postseason hangover is real.
Cleveland had it. Cleveland had it. They were 45-42 at one point, and then they just kicked it into gear. And they were 45-42 right before their 22-game win streak started.
No, it's a real thing. And unless you're the New England Patriots, which you're immortal. But, well, this season
it's right, but it's really just Tom Brady for them,
pretty much. But no, like I said,
I could go play for the Patriots on just walking over there in training camp, and they'll find a way to make me a slot receiver somehow in Tom Brady's offense.
Yeah, pretty much.
So again, we go with our MVPs for the postseason. Kenny, you can give yours in a minute. I had, if I'm going through the Yankees, I had Didi, I had Altuve, Turner, and I went with Anthony Rizzo.
Okay, I agree with all of those except for the Cubs. I'd go Addison Russell.
You went with Addison
Made
Russell.
some good plays at short, had some good hits here and there. Like I said, no one's really stood out to me on the Cubs. They're down 3-0, obviously.
Right.
But if I had to pick one guy who always shows up in big moments in the postseason for them, it seems to be him.
Okay. So we move on from that one, and we got to go on to another segment. So this is one we dipped our toe in the water into it last week, and just because we had so much to cover last week, now we get less games with the championship series, so it's less games really to break down, more time to talk about this subject. And this is where I'm going to say the Tanaka-Keuchel game earlier on in the podcast. I said we would get to that game later, and this is where we're going to get to it now. Pitchers duels versus home run derbies.
Okay.
Give me a pitcher's duel any day of the week. I hate it as if your team's on the losing side. It sucks. It's so bad to lose a game 1-0, and it comes off a bloop single, like a bleeder, on a hit and run or something in the 8th inning. But man, when your heart's racing in a 0-0 game in the 8th inning, which Tanaka and Keuchel game 5 in a tie series in Yankee Stadium very well could be a 0-0 game going into the 8th, the way Tanaka's been throwing. And the Keuchel has not allowed a home run to the Yankees in his 200-plus batters faced against him in the past 3 years.
He just dominates the Yankees. It's just unbelievable, Keuchel. He's something else. He was never that great before 2015.
He developed a cutter, and he was always a big curveball and slider guy.
Yeah.
Those were his neutralizers. But then he gave his fastball movement with a cutter and a two-seam, and then he also got that circle changeup going, and it's basically like a backwards curveball.
It also helps. Nasty. It also helps with all the ground balls he induces that he's such a great fielder too. I mean, he's a Gold Glove winner.
Yeah,
you could make the case for him every year. He's really quick off the mound, just quick release. He's great there.
Speaking of ground balls and being a good fielding position, Tanaka
too. He's a great athlete.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, Severino's a great athlete. I mean, Mariano Rivera was a great athlete too.
Oh, of course.
People don't give him a lot of credit for that, but
right.
he could cover the first base like anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So
but this is the game that I want to see. I want to see Tanaka and Keuchel.
No, you know what? That's a good sales pitch. Tanaka
and Keuchel. I want to see them go toe-to-toe, 8 innings, shutout ball. I want the Astros to have the bases loaded with 2 outs in the top of the 8th, and Tanaka's 100th pitch to be a splitter that gets him out of it, or something like that. I want it to be I want there to be a huge moment in a 0-0 game today.
I think it'll be a great game. I think both pitchers will be on their game. I don't think anyone is going to falter. This game means too much to both these teams. And For anyone who doesn't like pitchers duels, I said this last podcast, go watch the Yu Darvish Masahiro Tanaka pitchers duel in the Bronx back in midsummer. Unbelievable. This is the hypothetical I'll use to describe that game. Both pitchers are starting out in a pool in the deep end with a life jacket on. And every hit they give up, you take a little bit of air out of the life jacket. And then you have to rebuild it again. It's like watching that. It's so suspect. I was on the edge of my seat. Nothing against home run derby games, but like there's no continuity. There's no continuity.
There's not.
No.
There's not. It's just it's almost like expected. Like if your team goes up. Okay, so the Twins Yankees wildcard game.
Yeah.
Twins were up 3-0 after the first inning. Severino did not have it. What happens to Irvin Santana? Tied at 3. Now all of a sudden it's going to be one of those games. You know,
and it was one of those games.
And it was. And there was no real there wasn't necessarily a big pitch or a big ground out that you needed to get during that game. But that's just what I love about baseball.
To me, I agree. And to me, outthinking the hitter is what's fun to me.
Yeah.
2-1 to Carlos Correa. He's obviously expecting fastball, like with a runner on third, so to speak. He wants to drive that runner in 2-1. I'm sitting fastball.
Right.
You throw a splitter, and he swings through it.
Or is out in front and gets a ground ball to third.
Or reverse psychology. 3-2. You're expecting fastball. 3-2. Bases loaded. Throw a splitter.
Mm-hmm.
Or the opposite can happen. You're down in the count. Throw a fastball to get ahead.
That's the best way to do it is to pitch backwards, and that's just so fun.
Excuse me, I had. Sorry.
You good?
Yeah. Choking.
Okay. I'm getting all the excitement out, huh? All right.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is the best thing that I love about baseball is the pitch backwards effect. A get me over breaking ball, and then a changeup like just below the knees entices the hitter to swing, maybe a foul ball, and then what do? You go with a slider out of the zone, you drop a curve in the dirt like David Robertson, or do you do what I would do and totally change the eye level and go with a high fastball? So many different things can happen.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Austin. Breathe. Sorry, I was choking on my water. Excuse me.
Breathe.
But no, I agree. And what I meant to say before I started choking was getting ahead in the count 0-2 and then throwing a fastball to freeze the hitter. That's what pumps me up. Because obviously 0-2 you're expecting a breaking stuff. 3-2 you're expecting fastball, throw the opposite. Not every time, obviously.
Right.
But
you gotta show the ability to change things up. And it goes with the hitters too. So we get away from pitchers duels. Hitters also fall into patterns. It happened last night. Gardner, it was mentioned last night that Gardner did not swing at a first pitch the entire postseason. And then last night he did. It was his second at bat against McCullers. He got a fastball up in the zone, and he was all over, and he fouled it back to the screen. But he showed, I will swing at the first pitch if I need to.
And that shows how advanced he is with his self-awareness. You build up a sample size, you get it on the scouting report, and then you don't do it. That's like Bill Belichick-esque. That's Buck Showalter-esque. That's all the great coaches and managers.
I love it. So it's not just a pitcher's duel. It's also hitters making adjustments and changing. So Judge's home run off McCullers was on a curveball. It just stayed up. Yeah. And then Judge's RBI double off of, who came in? Was it Musgrove?
Yes.
It was Joe Musgrove. It was a curveball. It was in the dirt. It was a pitch that he has been striking out on 20-plus times in this postseason. And he finally made the adjustment. He got his knees down a little bit, and he kind of golfed it from his shin. But he barreled it up just enough. When Judge doesn't even swing, he can check swing and barrel it, and it'll be a line drive to the outfield.
He doesn't have to swing hard.
He doesn't.
He just has to barrel to the ball.
Right.
That's it.
So that's all he has to do. And I think he's learning that. Like, I don't have to crush this curve in the dirt and swing over it. I can just kind of meet it out in front of the plate and poke it, and I'm big and strong enough that it'll be a double, almost fan interference.
If it's inside, just pull your hand. You don't, like I said, you don't have to swing hard when you're 6'7" and built like a brick wall. If it's an inside fastball, just get your hands in. If it's outside, just poke it. It's gonna go far. You're 6'7". Trust me.
Especially in Yankee Stadium.
Exactly.
And even when they go to Houston for Game 5. Or, sorry, Game 6.
Yeah, and when he's slumping, he tries to overdo it, and he tries to guess and swing hard. It's like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to. You're built like a tank. Just get the barrel of the ball, and good things will happen.
Exactly. And that is what's happening. And the last night, it was kind of a pitcher's duel, but then Yuli Gurriel broke it open with that double, and then the Yankees obviously rallied back to make it 6-4. So it became less of a pitcher's duel, but it was still really exciting for the first 6 innings. I haven't seen McCullers do that in a while. Sonny Gray, that was probably his best performance as a Yankee.
Yeah, you could say that. And it was on 12 days rest, too. And John Smoltz was talking about how, it's hard to go a week and a half without pitching. Because he was a little rusty at first, but, boy, he settled down really nicely. Everything was moving. I love his split change, little pitch that he throws to 2-1 to entice ground balls. And I just love all of it. I love Sonny Gray as a pitcher.
So we move on from pitchers' duels to what makes them great is obviously the pitching. But then we talked about it just a little bit is hitters making adjustments, managers making adjustments, the decisions that have to be made during a pitcher's duel.
Right.
Many of those include sacrifice situations, hit and run situations, which is, again, another mental part that I love about baseball, the cat and mouse game, the chess match.
Yes.
So in a sacrifice situation, we both know this coming into this before I bring it up. You are more of a new school guy, and I'm more of an old school. You've told me this before, don't you? You like the new. You're more of a let the guy swing, let the guy hit.
To an extent, I wouldn't say I'm totally new school.
To find the right
new
words
school.
there.
No, you're right, and I would say I'm more new school than old school when it comes to this kind of thing. But I'm more of just a feel the game out type of person. If it's an 8-7 game and you get like a leadoff walk, you don't need to bunt him over. Everyone's hitting. You can just keep swinging away. If it's 0-0 game, both teams have like 2 hits apiece, and you get a leadoff walk in the 7th against a really tough pitcher, then I'd say yes, you could probably bunt to get him in scoring position. I don't like bunting 2nd to 3rd because you're already in scoring position, but 1st to 2nd with nobody out and you need that run if in a 0-0 game, absolutely, I'm all for it. Especially if you're 9 hitters coming up or something like that. But like I said, it's too situationally based to just make a concrete argument on.
See, for me, I do lean towards the concrete part where, what's an example? Here's one. 3-0 count. I never swing.
Nope, I don't either.
Never. I know some people are like, oh, do you give them the green light? I say no matter what. Okay, I'll change that. 99%, no matter what. You're not swinging. If it's a guy who's not throwing hard, if it's a guy who's Adam Warren can get it up to 95 when he feels like it, but he's consistently 91, 92. So if Adam Warren comes out of the bullpen and you got the heart of your order coming up and he's down 3-0, misses with a fastball, misses with a curve, misses with another fastball, 3-0 count. Give your hitter the green light on a 93-mile-per-hour fastball.
With nobody on base?
With no one, let's go with no one on base. And it's the 3-hitter. You're the Astros, and it's Altuve, Correa. So no one's on base. Fresh inning for Warren. It's the bottom of the 8th, no outs. So tie game, and you got a 3-0 count for Altuve, Correa, and Yuli.
Oh man, with Altuve, I'd say no because he can just as easily walk in the next 3 pitches and then steal a base. But if it's a guy like Brian McCann, then I'd greenlight him 3-0. Because if he walks, he's no threat on the base.
Even Gurriel.
I'd greenlight him 3-0. Yeah.
Right. Correa is not as fast as Altuve or Springer or Reddick.
No.
So if it's the top of that order, I agree with you. I would not greenlight them. But you're stealing on one of the next 2 pitches. You're going. You're getting the second.
If it's Altuve or Springer, yes.
Yes.
That's
Correa, I give him the green light. Correa's a special player. I give him the green light where he can hit the ball anywhere. He has pole-to-pole, gap-to-gap power, and he can do whatever he wants in a 3-0 count.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's a pure hitter. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So it's tough, man. These concrete rules. And another one, I love the sack bunt. I don't care what sabermetrics tell you. I don't care how many people out there say, oh, sacrifice, it's giving away an out. You need every out you need. You need runners in the scoring position.
You need runners in scoring position.
You need runners in scoring position.
I know David Cohn is the biggest fan of letting you sack bunt against him because he said, thank you, I'll take the out.
Yeah.
But if it means moving a runner from 1st to 2nd, you have 2 chances, but all they need is a single, really. A single drives in most people in scoring position, I'd say. As long as you hit to a guy who doesn't have a cannon of an arm. I mean, most people score on ground balls. Yeah, Reddick. But wouldn't you agree that a runner at 2nd on a single hit to an outfielder like, I don't know, Chris Davis, who has a really bad arm, he's scoring no matter what?
Yeah.
Most of the time, like I said, if it's not an outfielder like Cespedes or Carlos Gomez or Aaron Judge, or like one of those guys with this really strong arm, you're probably scoring on a single with a runner in scoring position.
Depends on the runner.
It depends on the runner.
So
but do you see my point though? It's too situationally based to just make an argument on, like using facts, because it's so subjective, in my opinion.
It is.
If it's an outfield of Nori Aoki, Johnny Damon, and Chris Davis, who have 3 of the worst arms ever in baseball, and let's say Greg Bird's on second base, and Ronald Torreyes hits a 3-hopper to the right fielder, I'm sending Bird.
I gotta think about this one.
Well, Chris Davis.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Again, it is situational based, so it depends on who's on base. How do they run the bases? Who's in the outfield? But to go back on the argument, I kind of laugh at people who say, you know, the sacrifice bunt doesn't matter, or the sacrifice fly doesn't matter, or hit and run doesn't matter.
Absolutely does.
Because there's more probability of you wasting that opportunity if you give away an out. Or hitting into a double play, like if you hit a line drive on a hit and run. Yeah, I laugh at those people.
But in baseball,
but those people are the sabermetrics. Those are the people who use computers and don't use their eyes.
And just feel the game out. That's my problem with it. It's too numbers driven. Like I said, just read the situation. If it's a leadoff double, you don't need to sack bunt. You're in scoring position already. I think that's where we kind of disagree.
See, I have no problem sacking him over to third if there's no outs.
Okay.
Pass ball gets him in. Deep ground ball gets him in. A fly ball gets him in. Base hit gets him in. Reach on air.
See, I see where you're coming from, but a leadoff double with nobody out, a single probably scores you. Ground ball in the hole scores you. So you see what I mean?
Obviously, I'm not gonna sack bunt if it's a lead. If Gardner hits a leadoff double, I'm not gonna sack bunt with Aaron Judge. That's obvious.
Right.
But if
Clint Frazier is the 8-hitter and Torreyes is up,
yes,
I'd bunt.
Fine.
That's fine.
Totally fine.
I get that.
Okay.
Right. But now we're getting into the details, and it's how situationally based it is.
I'm kind of glad this argument went into this. So it's not that me and you don't agree or disagree on certain things. Me and you can both disagree on, like, I'm a little more of a concrete person that, like, I kind of have a rule in my mind where, like, basically no matter what, I'm going to sack bunt and runner over in scoring position. Or basically no matter what, I'm going to take with a 3-0 count. And you might feel it out a little more. But we can both laugh at people who say that sacrifices don't matter. Because they do, people.
They do matter.
They do, people. So if anyone out there listens and they think that outs are really important, I understand you. But runs are even more important. You can't win if you can't score.
Getting in a position to score is more important than just not bunting. Because a leadoff walk, I'm not going to bunt, I don't believe in bunting, double play, there goes the inner.
And like you said earlier, that goes hand in hand with reading the situation of the game. So the pitcher's duel.
Yeah.
Pitcher's duel. More likely to sacrifice, hit and run, to create things. And I think the best decision made in Game 4 was Girardi's decision to hit and run with Gregorius on first and Sanchez in a 2-0 count. 2 curveballs out of the zone. Here comes a fastball in the outer third. Hit and run with Didi. You know you're going to get a fastball. Sanchez does not miss fastballs.
No.
Hit and run
Rarely,
with Didi.
if ever, does he miss fastballs.
Loved that play call.
And I really like the hit and run. With a guy who can handle the bat,
mm-hmm.
Absolutely hit and run. I'm a big fan of the hit and run, especially when your offense is stagnant. I think it can bring a lot of teams to life.
I love baseball. I love baseball. I think about it. So pitcher's duel, more likely to sacrifice, and like you said, 8-7 game. Okay, you're not gonna sacrifice bunt. You're not. So tell me this: what if it's an 8-7 game or an 8-8 game?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's hitting, like you said, like everyone in your lineup has a hit or two. Like everyone is just going nuts.
Okay.
It's an 8-8 game in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Yeah.
Lead off double. Do you get him over to third? I get him over to third.
No.
I bunt him over to third.
No, Austin.
So much can happen.
If everybody's hitting in an 8-8 game and you have a leadoff double in the 9th, the mentality of the other team is, well, here we go again, because they've already scored 8. That's what the other team's thinking as well. Everyone's in the offensive mindset. It's not a pitcher's game.
Leadoff single in the 8-8 game. Or walk.
See, that's where That'd be tougher to gauge.
See?
That's the tough spot.
I still get him over to second base.
I'd be more on board with that, depending on who it is.
You'd be more on board. Not definitely committing to it, but I pique your interest.
But do you get where I'm coming from?
I hear where you're coming from, but if that's a winning run, that's the only run that matters.
Okay. And then you bunt him over to second, there's one out, and then they walk the next guy, because that run doesn't mean anything. Now
Right.
you have the double play situation set up again.
It's so tough.
It is.
It's so tough to do.
It is tough.
And same with my thing. So if it's a leadoff double, probably going to intentionally walk the next guy, make it first and second with no outs.
Right.
Sack bunt, second and third. Now you got bases. Now they're going to intentionally walk again.
Yeah,
now you got
bases
bases
loaded.
loaded. Still,
See-
a walk wins the game.
See, that's my issue.
Still, a walk wins the game now. Or
Okay.
a pass ball wins the game.
Okay, I get where you're coming from. But if it's only one run, obviously those don't mean, the guys behind them don't mean anything. Those runs mean nothing. So obviously they're going to walk them to provide the force at every base, correct?
Okay.
That's why I like doubles so much, because you don't have to bunt him over later in the game. You're in scoring position already. Jose Ramirez. Let me take a Jose Ramirez. A doubles machine. Please. Charlie Blackmon, a doubles machine and triples machine.
Mm-hmm.
Please let me have him on my team. Please.
Fine.
You don't. He's not each, like, no offense to Ichiro, but he's not a singles hitter. You know.
Yeah.
So
That's basically what he's known for, is the infield single.
yeah.
So, I mean,
And
makes sense.
prime Ichiro was, you're not throwing him
Right.
out.
It's so tough. It's tough to manage, and I think these guys need to get more
I
credit.
don't necessarily think. I mean, there is a right and wrong depending on the situation, but when you go deeper into it, there isn't necessarily a right and wrong because every game's so different.
I feel like these issues would be more resolved if the intentional walk wasn't just holding up four fingers, and you actually had to still pitch an intentional walk.
I hate it.
Because now a whole lot can happen,
I hate it.
which I have seen several RBI singles, doubles, and sac flies on intentional walks.
I've seen,
Several meaning more than 5.
I've seen it happen often. Dylan Betances at home against the Giants 2 years ago, or last year, I believe. It was one of the two.
Gary Sanchez late last year.
Against Eddie Romero, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, again, that makes me laugh because when it was declared that Commissioner Manfred said all intentional walks during the 2017 season will just be holding up 4 fingers. When that happened, later on that week, that preceding week, 7-day stretch, 3 or 4 instances happened in which something happened on an intentional walk. Sac fly, hit, wild pitch, whatever.
I remember that.
There are certain pitchers who cannot throw an intentional walk.
Well, how many relievers in practice, or like during spring training, for example, how many of them practice throwing intentional walks? How many of them practice completely changing your mechanics just to lob it over the plate 10 feet to the left?
So when I was learning to throw an intentional walk, well, not learning to, but kind of
Going through the
you
motions.
work it. You literally work on that as a pitcher, or used to.
Oh, I know, yeah.
You actually worked on it, and I was always taught not to change your mechanics, just open up a little more and throw a 75% fastball way over there.
But then
Don't lob it. Don't lob it. Don't even open up a little bit, really. You just got to kind of force yourself to throw a fastball. You're playing catch. Force yourself to throw a fastball just 2 feet that way. They're not going to swing at it.
So,
But it's people who lob it are less accurate. Pitchers do not like to lob things, which is why the eephus pitch, honestly, is amazing to me.
oh yeah.
But we played catch. I'm really accurate when I zing it in there.
Yeah.
If I'm throwing a fastball at your face, I will hit you in your face. But if I lob it, or if I not really throw a curveball, but like if I just kind of like lob it up there, I don't know where it's going.
No, I'm the same way when I play catch, or when I played when I was younger. Like 4 years ago. But I had to throw it as hard as I could at everybody, because
Right.
that's where I don't think as much when I'm just chucking it. You know what I mean? So, and that's something Chase Headley struggled with a lot. The routine play. You have more time to yourself.
When
The
you
more-
have more
okay.
time to think.
The more you think, the worse you are in any sport.
Quote from the movie Bull Durham: "Don't think, kid. It can only hurt the ball club."
Exactly. I love that movie.
So, yeah, Chase Headley, it's a good point to bring up. It's kind of like the intentional walk factor. A reliever can hit 99 on the black in his sleep and throw an intentional walk, and it's all over the place. Headley can come in like a nice diving backhand play, step up, throw to first, come in on a bare hand, throw across his body. no one's business. But when it's a two-hopper right to his chest, and he can pump it 10 times and crow hop it twice, he's going to sail it, or he's going to spike it.
Yeah, and he's struggled with that a lot over his career.
Yep.
Mostly with the Yankees, but it's in your head. I didn't like thinking when I played. That's why I didn't like the outfield as much, because I just thought too much. I liked being in every play. I liked moving at every pitch, you know? I didn't like it.
Baseball's just it's just a game unlike any other.
Think of it this way. It's a game of thinking, but it's a game of not thinking. Right?
That's just the most wonderful way to put it.
For lack of a better word.
I mean, you go through basketball, right? And, you know, you're going up and down the court, certain plays where you're going to do a pick play, you're going to do a backdoor screen. What are you going to do? You're going to cut? You just going to do a simple crossover and pull up for a three if you're Steph Curry? But there's a lot of different things you can do it, but it's all right in front of you. You know, the defense and offense play their hands, and you see it and you adjust to it that way. In baseball, you can't read a player's mind.
No, basketball is more free-flowing and confidence-based. I wouldn't say that's more thinking. Because, like, you know the offense you run. Mm-hmm. You just kind of go through the motions at that point.
Right.
But it's definitely more confidence-based.
Hockey, too, free-flowing, more confidence-based. If Ovechkin is going for a hat trick, he's going to get a hat trick. Yeah. If Crosby's going for a hat trick, he's going to get a hat trick whenever they want. But like you
or
said,
at least
free-flowing.
The probability of them getting a hat trick is more than, let's say, Charlie Blackmon hitting for the cycle.
Right.
Right. I mean, that might not be a good comparison.
But I would agree with that. And, you know, like you said, more free-flowing. It's not so much thinking. Thinking was the wrong sport. Thinking was the wrong example for those two sports because they are more free-flowing. There's a clock on it, and you can just kind of go back and forth and kind of try to really out-hustle each other.
Yeah.
Football, you got to kind of outthink a little bit, but that happens in front of you. For the offense, the defense shows their hand. A quarterback can see a linebacker come up. A linebacker or a cornerback can read the quarterback's eyes, can read the running back's eyes.
And in baseball, you don't have to necessarily show your hand. You can show a shift and then during the windup just run back to your normal, like obviously on pickoffs. Mostly that's usually what happens.
Right.
On second base.
And I'm a big fan of that as well because you don't know if a player's going to bunt or not. You don't know if a player's going to hit and run unless you try to throw a pitch first. Yeah. You don't know what's going to happen until the pitcher separates his hands and goes into a throwing motion.
It's like motioning in football. See if they're in man or zone. If they don't move, they're probably in zone.
Right.
So, but I don't know if this is a good comparison, but that's like getting rid of the intentional walk is like running a computer algorithm based on your career free throw percentage in basketball instead of shooting them, right?
So instead of having an intentional walk where you got to throw 4 pitches, it would be the same as eliminating the free throw. So if Steph Curry gets fouled, Steph Curry gets fouled 50 times, so you get 50 times, you get 100 shots, right?
Correct.
Right. So on that,
yeah.
So those first 49 times he gets 2 points, and then that 50th time he would only get 1 point because he would go 1 for 2, because he's got like a 95% free throw percentage.
Well, no, I think the way I look at it is, let's say you're a career 84% free throw shooter. Pretty good.
Okay.
And you go to the line. The computer will run an algorithm with an 84% chance for a yes and a 16% for a no. And then that's based on if you get the free throw or not. Isn't that stupid?
Basically, it's just a computer telling you what you
can
I know
it's not do. It's not the exact same thing, but that's what it reminds me of for the intentional walk. It's like, hey, it happens 99% of the time. We're just going to put you on first. But in baseball, that one time you throw it to the backstop with a runner on third, that costs you the game.
It matters.
A missed free throw can cost you the game, but
my Gary Sanchez example earlier, they were trying to intentionally walk him with a runner on third. That was a go-ahead run on a sac fly, or a tying run on a sac fly. I forget exactly which, but it was one of those two.
I think it was tying, but either
tying
way,
against the Rays late in the game.
Either way, the concept remains the same. Do you see where I'm coming from?
It matters, right? No, I agree 100%.
It might be a dumb example to use free throws because obviously they mean different. They're more high leverage in basketball than an intentional walk would be, because if you miss a free throw late in the game, that could be game. But the concept remains the same in that you're taking the percentage and then applying that to a non-existent variation. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't let him perform that action, you're assuming he's a computer, which they're not. So.
And it worries me about baseball because I love the intricacies and I love the human element for it. I'm worried about strike zones. I'm very worried about strike zones. We can get into that as we approach the last few minutes of this podcast, but that's going to be something we're going to talk about next week.
Yeah.
Is if you want to stick around for that show. Next week, we will talk about definitely the importance of the human element in terms of umpires and definitely in terms of players and the strike zone.
And just a teaser for that, most of the time the umpires are fine. They do their job well. I know some get a bad rap more than others. CB Buckner, but Angel Hernandez.
Oh my God!
But the point remains standing. They do their jobs well than most other sports. Basketball is okay. In basketball, you could argue every single foul. Could you?
In football, there's holding on almost every single play.
On almost every play. In hockey, there's little slashes that they're trying to cut down on this year. But still, I see it on every play. You could have called that. Oh, he hit his hand. Could have called that.
Yeah.
It's just, considering the bad rap that umpires get in baseball, they do a damn good job, considering.
They do.
They really do.
And we're going to have that for next week. But to close out this one, it's going to be, instead of Kenny's trivia, it's going to be Austin's quirky stat.
Go for it.
All right. Excited. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
This is interesting. This is per ESPN Stats and Info. The New York Yankees, the 2017 New York Yankees, are the fourth team ever in postseason history to go to fall 0-2 in 2 back-to-back series.
Okay.
So whether it's ALDS to the ALCS or ALCS to the World Series, they're the fourth team ever to be down 0-2 in 2 consecutive postseason series. They're the first team ever to tie it back up at 2 both times.
I don't know how to respond to that. What do you say to that?
I don't know. The postseason has been around for 100 years.
I'm speechless. I don't know how to respond to that. That's just amazing. And that's attributed to the guys on the team.
Yep.
And the atmosphere in the clubhouse.
I mean, absolutely have tribute to that. But for me, it's just like the fact that that's just happening now in 2017.
Yeah. With all the series that have gone on every single year.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And might I throw this in at the end of this podcast?
Yep, you may.
Trade Headley, re-sign Frazier? Because he loves being a Yankee.
You can tell.
He loves
just the way that, like, with Judge's double and with Sanchez's double, he was the first guy out there.
He's nothing but good to this team in terms of charisma. I mean, he's not the hitter Headley is, but you can make
hitter. You mean by average?
Average.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Todd will punch out a 3-run home run.
Well,
He'll flick his wrist and it'll somehow go out.
Right. I just mean number of hits, but yeah. Todd Frazier re-sign, trade Headley. That's what I'd do.
We'll have plenty to talk about that after the World Series is over, because I'm already looking forward to those future episodes when me and you can just
off-season discussions.
We can go about who wins what award. We can go what teams need to do what. It's going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
But that's going to do it for this week's edition of A.K.47 Baseball Podcast. So until next week, I'm Austin Speaker.
I'm Kenny Stables.
Thanks for watching.